Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 29. I told Clarice and King all about the last loop we'd lived through. I made sure to tell them about Roxanne's strange necklace with the spinal tube which could remotely activate her powers. We would need to sever its connection somehow, if that meant before or after her death. According to my count, it should be about 47 ST. The hunt should be well in effect. Clone Spawn could appear any moment. It felt especially possible due to Roxanne fully knowing where we had been around this time. "So what are you two thinking?" Clarice asked. "We know thanks to Sophia that the fire outside is going to sweep the woods, so I figured it'd be better for us to head back into town and look for signs of Tiki." King shook his head.
"We've done enough in the Tiki department. She'll stick around leaping around her flames. We should focus on defeating our enemies before we restore Tiki."
"And what if she can offer us some much-needed support?" Clarice retorted.
"And if she's too far behind the current events that she ends up holding us back?"
"We've caught her up once. We could do it again," Clarice fussed in an annoyed tone.
"I'm certain she can wait a little longer. We need to end this, and soon." He sighed a loud sigh. "We know Vontavia's growing closer than comfortable. We really need our current opponents to be out of the picture so we may face the larger threat."
Clarice still seemed set on trying to get Tiki back to her usual self, but her face betrayed clearly it was a battle she didn't feel like she could win. She and King had a tight connection. His words have heavy weight for her. "Fine, but what are we planning on doing? Any upper hand can just be undone after all." King was silent for a moment.
"Well, we know the necklace and helmet are the items we must destroy most. We also know those two are overly confident in their abilities. We just need to find something that can truly turn the tides for us."
They look over to me. Were they waiting for me to suggest something? I'm so used to them doing all the talking during these sorts of things, I just kind of sit here and agree or disagree. I don't really have any sort of plan at the moment. I was hoping to spend some time slowly whittling them both down until we found our time to strike. They had to make a mistake sometime, right?
"My lady,"
a distant familiar voice whispered into my ears. I nearly spun around fully before I remembered the voice belonged to Fool's Night. "Huh? What is it, my knight?" I asked inside my mind.
"There is an easy way to claim victory,"
he said in a monotone voice. "And that would be?" I asked. "What do you know?" Fool's Night seemed to go silent for what felt like forever as I sat on the edge of my seat. Clarice and King just stared as I looked up at the ceiling in silence.
"Return to MGI's office. Once there, begin destroying the building."
I was honestly pretty confused how they could help us in our current situation. Why? No matter how many times I tried to ask Fool's Night for more information, it wouldn't respond again. I had previously assumed that as we grew closer as one, I'd hear him less, but it was strange for him to begin a conversation only to then disappear. "We're going to head back to our dorms. I have a plan, I think," I held up. "The office? I wasn't expecting that." Clarice seemed shocked by my plan. King said nothing, but I could feel his eyes on me in a heavier way than usual. "Are you guys opposed?" I asked. Clarice shakes her head. "Not especially. I trust you have some sort of plan, right? What exactly is it?" I took a deep breath before writing the best explanation I could. A plan I myself don't actually understand either. I can't explain all of it, but we will destroy the building, and then we'll turn the tides of the battle in our favor.
"I don't get it,"
King stated matter-of-factly. "I second that. What are you talking about?" Clarice sighed. I felt pretty flustered as I tried to think of what Fool's Night was thinking. I really wish he could have explained it better before he suddenly ghosted me. It was pretty out of character for my ability, actually. Had I been overusing him so much I ran out of energy and he disappeared? I can't explain it really, but I promise it's got a chance of victory. Clarice and King both sighed almost in unison. "I guess we've got nothing to lose," Clarice chuckled. With that, we carefully headed out of a window on the side of the post office. We wanted to be extra careful to not die and forget our plan. We also didn't know for sure if Roxanne would be waiting with her crossbow for us leaving the main door. We barely made it down the first road before we suddenly jumped back a minute. We both looked at one another, both looking to see if the other had memories of a loop where the other died. We seemed good. It was about 56 ST when we jumped, so now it was 55 ST. Why would she reverse time by only a minute? Perhaps something else was going on for them to worry about. I hadn't even taken another step before I was back inside the post office. I could see I was seated, but when? I felt my chest tighten as I realized I had no idea what time this would be. Usually it set me back to a time I recognized arriving or something. But this time it could be anywhere from 39 ST to 52 ST. That was odd, Clarice commented.
They may be fighting on more than one front. We don't know Von Pavia's current position. Perhaps they're causing trouble worth reversing time to keep them away,
King suggested, waving around one of his little green fingerless hands. Let's get moving, I held up before tucking my board into my bag. The others followed after me as we darted down the road. Entering back into the more densely populated area, we could feel the temperature drop as we distanced ourselves from the still burning fireball. I figured they'd want to undo that, but they had kept it around for some reason. We kept our eyes out for any sign of clone spawn. If we were lucky, we could pass through town without running into any and get started on whatever it was Fool's Knight's plan entailed after causing some destruction. Fool's Knight? Are you there? I tried calling out to him again in my mind. My mind remains only my own thoughts, without any sound of his distinct male voice. Trouble, Soph? Clarice called over to me, pointing to a red-headed girl kneeled down in the middle of the ground, seemingly weeping.
Do they think we'll stop and try to help her? We've seen their true form as clones,
King mused. Which makes it seem more like a trap just to run by her, Clarice sighed. But what else can we do? Just try and keep some distance, okay, Soph? I nodded. We both split, darting in either direction of the girl in the road, keeping our distance. We ran straight past her and continued forward. Clarice looked back at the girl, still kneeling, crying in the street, seeing if she was going to do anything. I leap as someone jumps out from an alleyway on my side. It was certainly a trap. I had no way to warn Clarice, whose attention wasn't on what was in front of her. I wished with all my strength that sound could have come from these vocal cords of mine, but a silent scream was all I could muster. The scary-eyed child who tried to surprise me fell forward as I dodged. I put a lot of Fool's Knight's strength into a crushing blow. I slammed down as I landed on top of her. She lay there twitching, her skull surely fractured to bits from that impact. I hurriedly turned to see if Clarice was all right. I froze in place, immediately seeing her completely held down by 5 girls. I took 2 steps forward before I saw the clone spawn looking down at me from behind the girl, hanging off the side of the alleyway wall. There were too many of them. What was I supposed to do? I needed to grab Clarice and run. We could escape and try to outrun them. I hesitated a moment too long. The girls have already begun their terror. There were 1 for each of her 4 limbs, gripping onto her tightly. The 5th had her tiny hands wrapped around Clarice's hair. All 5 of them were yanking on her with all their creepy clone strength. Clarice was screaming out as they yanked her around, shifting every which way as they fought over her like a doll. King was discarded on the ground. One of them had left a shoe print on him. The one gripping her hair called out to the others. 1, 2, 3! As if starting their game, the group began to spin Clarice around in a circle. The one holding her hair, their leader, then shouted, Right leg. Just like that, the one holding her right leg tore it straight off, blood spurting everywhere and all over them. I could feel Fool's Knight activating as its aura overtook me with rage. I charged at them before being sent back in time by the clone spawn, creating a howling horn sound. Could the spawn activate Roxanne as well via their strange red ball heads? Left arm, the leader shouted, blood sprinkling out across the pavement to the tune of Clarice's screams of pain and terror. I was charging them again before time reset again to the tune of the howling horn. Left leg, right leg, left leg, both arms. It was never ending. They could just keep tearing bits off her before resetting time. I felt entirely powerless to stop them, as I couldn't even get close enough to punch them before they were already resetting time again. What sort of demonic torture was this? I felt like collapsing to my knees and giving up. Could I get them to take me instead of Clarice? I just don't know what to do. Someone, anyone, please. Fool's Knight, please save her, I shout inside my mind. He is silent once again. I'll give you all that's left of my memories, however faint they might be. Just please give me the strength to save her. I can hear a inside my head to the tune of a deep male voice. Before it can say anything, however, another male voice shouts much louder. Enough! I look around for the source, but don't see anyone besides the spawn and the joyful playing children who are in the middle of tearing off Clarice's arms while yanking aggressively on her hair. Then suddenly, it was as if the street was shrinking. The opposing building across the road next to the kids seemed to pull them closer to me. It took me a moment to realize my ears were buzzing. Touching my ears, I returned my fingers to my view, covered in blood. What? The street wasn't shrinking, but the buildings were closing in. That's when I noticed King floating over the girls, smoke pouring out from his handhole. It seemed Clarice kept some marbles inside him, and King had used one to crush the entire street. King was looking at me, but I couldn't hear anything at all. I think the building behind me hit me and I hadn't noticed. With Fool's Night activated, I had such a reduced pain tolerance I somehow hadn't noticed. I think I might have really gotten a bad head injury. My head is spinning as I watch the buildings in front of me collapse over Clarice. King seemed to be only allowing it to hit our attackers.
What master do you serve?
Huh? I hear a voice even though my ears can't hear anything still. I can't think about it. I feel like lying down, so I do.
King Pulsar, are you among the Pantheon?
I don't think he can hear you, strange voice. I chuckle to myself. Fool's Night usually never says weird stuff like that. Why are you ignoring me, but then talking about weird stuff? He does not answer. Of course he doesn't. Next thing I know, I'm seated back inside the post office. I guess time really got reset while I was unconscious.
What a pain!
King sighed, rubbing his face with his little hands. Clarice took a seat on the floor, pulling her feet up to her chest, hugging them. She didn't speak, just sitting there wide-eyed as she stared. I got up from my chair, and without really thinking about it, wrapped my arms around her. At first, we just sat there together on the floor for a bit. Then, slowly, she let go of her knees and clung onto me as I stayed hugging her from the side. She lay her head against my chest, and then she sobbed silent tears with a blank expression. We sat there for a good while. I stopped counting at this point for this loop. We were just going to sit here until the loop reset, probably. Clarice lay there, against me, sobbing, and I didn't know what there was I could do for her besides not move. I wish I could sing her a song. Maybe a soothing song from a soothing voice could really help relieve the pain. She let out a choked-up cough. "Didn't they kill me?" she mumbled between sniffles. I hadn't considered all that anguish had never really been wiped from her memory. They were resetting so quickly after the injuries there wasn't any time to bleed out or die from it. Poor Clarice. She had to bear the memory of each of her limbs being torn off multiple times, and will forever now know what that feels like. "Why?" she stuttered, finding her voice again. "King?"
I'm here for you, Clarice.
He pet her knee. "You didn't?" She sniffled. Why didn't you stop them? Quicker." It came out in a whine.
That was a failing of me as your master.
You promised, you protect me." She burst into tears again, pressing her face into my shoulder and chest. King didn't respond. He held his head low as he waited for her to stop crying again before speaking.
I'm sorry. I didn't think quickly enough.
I felt pretty bad myself. I hadn't done anything to help her. I was completely stopped by the time reversal. I touched my fingers to her cheek and slowly trace out, "I am sorry, too." I'm not sure if she understood what I was doing, but she didn't stop me. We all sat there together until my tear-soaked shirt began to lose tears as time jumped back slightly multiple times.
Are you ready to punish those who did that to you?
King broke the silence. Clarice rubbed her face against me, digging into my armpit.
Are you angry, my servant? Have they not invoked your rage?
King continued. Clarice let out a pained sound from my scrunched-up chest.
Perhaps they are not seeing the plight they caused, he sighed. Stand tall, my servant! He suddenly shouted,
scaring both me and Clarice, who instantly sat upright. Tears were still streaming down her face as she met King's. King continued.
You are my sole servant, and any attack on my servant is an attack on the master, he shouted.
Clarice nodded, acknowledging it.
What's more, our dear friend Sophie had previously suffered a fatal attack from those feral monsters.
I swear I saw King stretch tall as he stood up straight on Clarice's hand.
Are we going to allow this to stand?
No! Clarice shouted back, wiping tears from her eyes.
Our friend Sophie has said she has a plan to defeat those vermin that dare to touch my dear servant. What do we say?
We follow her, Clarice shouted back, her tears no longer dripping off her cheek.
And?
We slaughter them all, she shouted back. King puffed up his green flat chest.
Right?
He raised an arm.
I am King Pulsar, king of the neutron stars. No one so lowly can ever behave so defiantly and live.
Clarice threw up her other hand into the air, matching King's. Not wanting to be excluded, I threw a hand up too, trying to be part of whatever this odd pep talk was.
Sophia!
King turned to me. I stood up straight nervously.
I need you to do a difficult thing for both of us, he began. Leave me and Clarice behind and run to the old door as fast as Fool's Night can make you.
I tried to hold up my hand to refuse, but King cut me off.
We'll be right behind you, running at a human's pace, but I know you're not able to run at your fastest speed when you're trying to match our pace.
It was true. But also, I was trying to do it so I didn't rip my body apart by completely ignoring what was humanly possible.
Look at Clarice! Do you want her to ever experience that again?
I shook my head.
Good!
He placed a hand on my face.
Then end this as fast as you can. Do whatever it is you need to do there, and we'll catch up. I trust you, Sophia!
I threw up a thumbs up, nodding with an inflated, confident smile. King believes in me. Wow! I don't think I've ever had someone tell me they trust me.
Go then!
King shouted. I take off running, admittedly making a bad start by smashing through the side window I swear was open. Glass shards spin around me as I kick open the side of the building, shooting forward. If I was going full power, I might as well really tear myself up. Each step leaves a small indent as I sprint forward. Next stop, my old room. I'm putting all my faith in you, Fool's Night. Don't let us down. End of chapter 29.